Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. And may the peace, mercy, and blessings of Allah be upon you. Imagine being the most wanted individuals in a massive tyrannical empire.
Right, like the absolute top of the most wanted list.
Exactly. The full weight of the state's military apparatus is hunting you down. Your faces are known.
Yeah.
Your capture is basically guaranteed at this point. And your ultimate brilliant survival strategy is to walk into a dead-end cave, lie down on the hard stone, and just fall asleep.
It sounds completely counterintuitive, right? I mean, it sounds like giving up.
Literally just surrendering.
Exactly. But when you unpack the mechanics of what actually happens in that cave, you realize it is the absolute pinnacle of strategic spiritual survival.
Well, welcome to today's custom deep dive. We've curated this specific journey for you, the learner. We are taking a stack of incredible textual analyses focused on the ancient account of the companions of the cave.
Also known as Ashab al-Kahf.
Right, Ashab al-Kahf. But we need to be incredibly clear about our mission today from the very first second of this deep dive.
Yeah, we have to set the ground rules.
We are not doing a history lesson here.
Yeah.
If you look at this as just some static chronicle, a dusty ancient fable about some youths hiding out thousands of years ago, you are going to miss the most critical survival framework ever documented.
Absolutely. Because the documents we are analyzing today, they reveal something that is breathing, it's dynamic, it's hyper-relevant to right now.
Yeah.
We are extracting a spiritual blueprint, and it's meant to anchor you against the systemic oppression, the rampant materialism, and, honestly, the sheer intellectual arrogance that defines so much of the modern world.
It's a survival manual.
Exactly. It's a manual for preserving human sanity and spiritual integrity when the culture around you becomes entirely toxic.
And the stakes we are dealing with are literally ultimate. Like, the texts indicate that the lessons from this cave provide the cognitive and spiritual armor required to navigate the greatest trials a human mind can face.
Going all the way up to the end of times, really?
Right. Going all the way up to navigating the terrifying eschatological deception of the Dajjal, which is a system of complete illusion and worldly dominance.
Yeah, it's the ultimate test.
So let's just jump right into the start of their journey. We have these youths, and they make a radical decision to abandon a wealthy, bustling city to retreat into isolation.
They just walk away.
They walk away. But the text immediately pauses to reframe how we view the miracle that is about to happen to them.
Yeah.
It forces a massive shift in perspective regarding anomalies.
It really does, because the preservation of these youths in the cave for centuries is undeniably a stunning physical anomaly. I mean, it breaks the laws of biology.
It breaks the laws of time.
Exactly. But the text treats this anomaly as a deliberate provocation for the reader. It's challenging our human tendency to only pay attention when the laws of physics are broken.
Oh, that's such a good point.
We are so easily enchanted by a burning bush or a parted sea.
Yeah, the big flashy stuff.
Oh, right. But we walk completely blind to the profound daily miracles of divine guidance, or the rising of the sun, or just the intricate creation of the heavens and the earth.
We need the breaking news alert to realize something incredible is happening.
Yeah.
I mean, we crave the spectacular because it requires zero intellectual effort to notice.
Exactly. You don't have to think about it.
Right. Like, if gravity suddenly reversed for 10 seconds, it would be the only thing we talk about for a decade.
Oh, for sure.
But the fact that gravity holds us to this spinning rock perfectly every single second of every single day, we just call that Tuesday.
Yeah, it's just normal.
So the anomaly of the cave is basically a flashing neon sign pointing us back to the everyday miracles we completely ignore.
And that leads directly into the psychological state of these youths before they even reached the cave.
Let's talk about that.
Because they were living in a society that was lethal to their core beliefs. The environment was aggressively idolatrous and tyrannical.
Yeah.
So when they physically retreated, that walking away wasn't the first step of their journey. It was actually the final external manifestation of a massive internal shift.
The internal work was already done.
Exactly. The analysis highlights that their internal reliance on their tawakkul was already absolute.
Okay, let's spend some time on that, because tawakkul is a heavy concept.
It really is.
It's not just crossing your fingers and hoping for the best.
No, not at all.
It's an actionable, muscular reliance. It's what literally moved their feet out of the city gates.
It's the realization that the system they were leaving behind, despite all its military and economic might, was fundamentally fragile compared to the reality of the divine.
Wow.
And this is where the text introduces the concept of Kahf.
Kahf.
Yeah, which is the highest, most refined form of fear reserved solely for God.
The way the analysis breaks down cough completely changes how we usually think about fear.
Hmm.
Because, I mean, we usually view fear additively.
What do you mean by additively?
Like, you have a fear of losing your job, and then you add a fear of illness, and you add a fear of social rejection.
Oh, right. They stack up.
Exactly. It'd pile up until you are just crushed by anxiety. But cough operates differently.
It operates as a neutralizing agent.
A neutralizing agent.
Yeah, when a person cultivates genuine, absolute fear of the divine, it doesn't sit on top of their otherworldly fears. It absorbs them.
Like a sponge.
Or like a psychological black hole that consumes the gravitational pull of everything else.
That is a crazy analogy.
Right. Because these youths had total cough, it entirely neutralized the terror they should have felt toward the tyrannical king and his massive armies.
So they weren't actually scared of the king.
They recognized a fundamental truth. Preserving their pure monotheism, their tawhid, in total desolate isolation, was vastly superior to losing their souls in a bustling, wealthy, socially acceptable city.
Okay, wait. Let me stop you there.
Sure.
Because if I'm listening to this right now, I'm putting myself in their shoes. I'm running through the desert. I can literally hear the king's hounds. I know that if I am caught, I will be executed publicly and brutally.
Yeah, it's a terrifying scenario.
Right. And when they get to the cave, they make a specific supplication. They pray.
Yes, verses 9 and 10 outline this.
And they don't ask for a fiery chariot to fly them to safety.
No.
They don't ask for an earthquake to swallow the king's army.
No, they do.
They ask for Rama, which is mercy, and Rashada, which translates to right guidance.
Exactly. Rama and Rashada.
I have to be honest, if an army is hunting me, asking for right guidance feels like asking for a good book recommendation while my house is on fire.
That's a funny way to put it, but I get your point.
Isn't the most instinctual human reaction to pray for the utter destruction of the threat?
That reaction is incredibly human, but it highlights the massive epistemological gap between how we view survival and how these youths viewed it.
Okay, unpack that gap for me.
When they ask for Rama and Rashada while standing on the brink of death, they are setting a timeless paradigm. They are declaring that spiritual survival completely outranks physical survival.
So to them, dying wasn't the ultimate failure.
Not at all. For them, physical death at the hands of a tyrant was a tragedy, sure.
Yeah.
It's not ideal. But it was not the worst-case scenario. The absolute worst-case scenario, the true catastrophe, would be losing their guidance, losing their internal compass, and arriving in the next life disconnected from the divine.
Oh, wow.
So by asking for Rashada, they are basically saying, whatever happens next, whether we are slaughtered in the morning or we somehow survive, just make sure our hearts remain anchored to the truth.
That is staggering. It totally redefines what victory looks like.
It changes the entire metric.
Because if you survive the night but compromise your soul to do it, you lost.
You lost everything that matters.
And if you are executed but your heart is firmly upon the truth, you won.
Exactly. And it strips the tyrannical king of all his perceived power, because the only thing the king can take is their biology.
Right.
He cannot touch their Rashada.
Which is why true cough is so deeply liberating.
Yes.
Because the king's entire apparatus of control relies on the assumption that citizens fear physical death or the loss of status above all else.
That's the tyrant's only leverage.
And when you are no longer constrained by those fears, the tyrant has zero leverage over you. You are entirely free, even if you are standing in a dark cave.
And that freedom brings us to the moment they actually settle into the cave. This is where we see a masterclass in the balance between human agency and divine decree.
Verses 11 and 12, right?
Yes, they've made the act of sacrifice, they've exhausted their physical options, and the mechanism of their preservation kicks in. But it is so hyper-specific.
What does the text say?
The text notes that Allah cast over their ears.
The biological precision here is fascinating. Like, why the ears? Why not simply say they were put to sleep?
Well, think about how sleep works. Hearing is the primary sensory anchor to the external world when we are unconscious.
It's the tripwire.
Exactly. It is the biological tripwire for sleep. You can sleep through gradual changes in light or even temperature drops.
Yeah, I've slept through the sunrise plenty of times.
Right. But a sudden snap of a twig or a shout will instantly pull your brain out of a delta wave sleep state.
So sealing the ears is the ultimate lock.
By sealing their hearing, the text indicates they were sealed entirely from the passage of time and from the chaotic noise of the world outside.
It makes me think of a divinely engineered sensory deprivation tank.
Oh, that's a brilliant analogy.
If you've ever been in one of those float tanks, you know that without auditory and visual input, your brain completely loses its grip on time.
Time just dilates.
A minute feels like an hour feels like a minute. But taking this further, there is something so profoundly quiet about this miracle.
What do you mean by quiet?
Well, you'd expect an ancient epic to feature a lightning bolt striking the cave entrance, causing a massive rock slide that physically blocks the army.
Yeah, the Hollywood blockbuster version.
Exactly, that's the Hollywood
Yeah.
version. But instead, the intervention is just a biological pause button. Just turning off the ears, it's intimately quiet.
The quietness is the core of the lesson regarding the balance of effort and decree.
How so?
This narrative forces you, the listener, to ask a really difficult question about your own life. Where exactly does your human effort end?
Oh, that's tough.
We live in a culture that tells us to hustle endlessly, to control every variable, to push until we literally break.
Ryan culture.
Yes. But these youths show us something entirely different. They took the active step. They planned the escape. They ran the distance. They found the shelter.
They put in the work.
They did. But that was the maximum limit of their human agency.
They literally hit a stone wall.
They did. And once inside, they had zero capacity left. They couldn't fight off an Imperial Guard. They couldn't magically generate food for a prolonged siege.
Right. They're just kids.
And exactly at the boundary of their exhaustion, they stopped. Their ultimate historic salvation wasn't achieved through frantic, anxiety-ridden pacing in the dark.
Like trying to brainstorm a way out.
Exactly. It was achieved through total passivity. They fell asleep.
There is an immense psychological relief in that concept. Human effort ends exactly at the limit of capability.
This is so freeing.
Once you hit that line, anything more is just you trying to play God. You did what you could, you tied your camel, and now you are allowed to rest.
It is the ultimate antidote to modern burnout.
Absolutely.
When you feel overwhelmed by insurmountable odds, whether that's an oppressive work environment, a massive health crisis, or a systemic injustice, your job is not to miraculously control the universe.
We think we have to fix everything.
We can't. Your job is to fulfill the effort within your actual finite capacity. Once you hit that limit, you step back and allow divine intervention to take over.
And trust that it will.
And as we see here, that intervention often orchestrates victory in ways the human mind literally cannot conceive. I mean, you couldn't have brainstormed sleep for 3 centuries in a strategy meeting.
No, you'd be laughed out of the room.
Exactly.
Speaking of brainstorming, while they are experiencing this miraculous sleep, the text gives us a flashback.
Yes, verses 13 through 16.
It pauses the narrative of the cave to explain exactly who these people were and the sheer magnitude of the internal fortitude they possessed before they ever became fugitives.
The demographic detail here is vital. They were youths.
Just teenagers or young men.
Right. They were in the prime of their lives. We're talking about a period defined by boundless physical energy, but also a period of profound social vulnerability.
Yeah, that's the hardest time to stand out.
Youth is typically the time when you are most susceptible to worldly desires, to peer pressure, to climbing the social ladder. You crave validation from the dominant culture.
Your brain is literally wired during those years to seek belonging. You want to build your life, find a partner, secure your status.
All normal human desires.
To go against the grain of society at that age goes against millions of years of evolutionary psychology. You are risking absolute social ostracization.
And yet, they didn't just harbor a secret, private belief in their hearts while outwardly conforming to the idolatry around them.
They didn't just lay low.
No, the text explicitly uses the word kamu. They stood up.
Gamu.
They openly proclaimed orthodox monotheism right in the face of state-sponsored pressure.
Wow.
This wasn't a quiet philosophical disagreement whispered in a coffee shop. This was a public declaration that required supreme physical and intellectual courage.
I want to pause and drag this reality into the present moment for the listener.
Please do.
Because it is incredibly easy for us to sit back in comfortable chairs and romanticize the idea of standing up to a king in antiquity.
It sounds like a movie script.
It does. It feels heroic and distant. But think about what it means today. Think about the listener who feels entirely alone at their corporate workplace where unethical practices are the norm.
That's a great example.
Or at their university where speaking their religious truth invites instant cancellation and academic ruin.
And happens all the time.
Or in a community where rampant materialism is the only language spoken. Standing up in your prime when you have your entire economic and social future to lose is paralyzing.
It is terrifying. And the text doesn't pretend it's easy.
Right.
That's precisely why it provides the mechanics of how such courage is sustained. The moment they took that physical and social risk, the moment they embodied that kamu, the text says Allah made firm their hearts.
There's a specific Arabic phrase for that, right?
Yes, rabatna ala kulubihim.
Rabatna ala kulubihim.
Which gives the imagery of tying or binding something securely, like tying a knot so it won't slip.
So the courage didn't solely come from their own willpower.
That's the secret. You don't have to generate an infinite supply of courage on your own.
That is such a relief to hear.
Your job is simply to take the first terrifying step of standing up for the truth. The divine response to that physical action is a metaphysical intervention in your chest.
The heart gets tied down.
The heart is tied down. It is fortified. This internal reassurance and profound inner peace is injected into them, and that peace renders all the external threats, the job loss, the social exile, the king's army, totally impotent.
The threats are still there, though.
The threat still exists, absolutely, but its ability to induce panic is gone.
The internal weather is completely changed, even if the external storm is raging.
That's a beautiful way to phrase it.
And this ties into the concept of the Ghuraba, doesn't it? The strangers.
Intimately. They embraced the identity of the Ghuraba. They realized that when a society becomes fundamentally corrupt, trying to fit in is an act of spiritual self-destruction.
You can't be part of the rot.
Exactly. They opted for physical isolation over spiritual desolation. And for the listener absorbing this today, this is a radical reframing of loneliness.
Reframing loneliness.
Yes, because when you feel alienated because you refuse to participate in the toxic norms of your environment, you naturally feel like you are being punished. You feel like a stranger.
You feel like there's something wrong with you because everyone else is getting along just fine.
Exactly. But the text argues the exact opposite. Your isolation is not a punishment. It is an elevation of your spiritual rank.
Wow.
It is a protective quarantine. Society didn't reject you. The divine extracted you to protect your core. You are in the cave.
That reframing can save a person's sanity.
It really can.
And speaking of protection, we've seen how their minds and hearts were fortified. But when we look at how the physical universe responds to their surrender, the details get absolutely mind-blowing.
Verses 17 and 18 are just incredible.
Let's look at the meticulous care their bodies received while they slept for centuries.
The physics of the cave are managed with unparalleled precision. The text describes an environment miraculously engineered to prevent the biological decay of their human flesh over hundreds of years.
Because bodies decay, that's just biology.
Right. But it tells us that the trajectory of the sun was actually altered, or the entrance of the cave was perfectly situated, to provide necessary environmental balance.
Wait, the sun's trajectory?
Yeah, the sun would incline away from them. It provided the sanitation of indirect light without the direct UV exposure that would eventually burn or damage their skin.
That's heliophysics and celestial mechanics being micromanaged for a few sleeping youths.
It is.
But the detail that really hits home from a medical perspective is the continuous turning. The text says they were turned to the right and to the left.
Yes. And from a modern medical standpoint, we know that if a human body lies static on a hard surface for even a few days, let alone centuries, gravity restricts blood flow to the contact points.
And bad things happen.
Very bad. You develop ischemia, tissue necrosis, and severe pressure ulcers.
Bedsore.
Exactly, bedsores, which can be fatal if infected.
It's literally why modern intensive care units have automated, hyper-advanced beds that slowly tilt and rotate comatose patients.
Right.
So this text, centuries before modern medicine, outlines a divinely engineered ICU. You have UV light management, temperature control, and automated turning to prevent necrosis.
It demonstrates a profound theological point. Absolute spiritual reliance yields tangible, microscopic physical care.
Microscopic care.
Yes. The author of this text understands the vulnerability of human flesh at a cellular level and orchestrates the cosmos to protect it.
That is just awe-inspiring.
Furthermore, the text mentions that their eyes remained open during this sleep.
Oh, that's eerie.
Combined with the continuous shifting of their bodies in the dim light of a cavern, it created a terrifying visage. It acted as an incredibly effective psychological deterrent.
So if anyone walked in,
any intruder, traveler, or wild animal that stumbled into the mouth of that cave would be struck with terror and flee, ensuring the sanctuary remained unbreached.
it's a flawless security system.
It really is.
But amidst all this cosmic engineering, the altered sun, the physiological miracles, there's one detail included that absolutely fascinates me. It feels almost out of place until you realize how deep the lesson goes.
Ah, I know what you're going to
They
say.
had a dog with them.
The dog,
Their
yes.
loyal dog is sitting at the entrance, stretching its paws, and it is entirely included in this miraculous preservation. Why on earth mention the dog?
The inclusion of the dog is arguably one of the most powerful and accessible lessons in the entire narrative.
Really? A dog?
Yes, because it's a masterclass on the nature of the company we keep.
Okay, unpack that.
Think about it. The dog didn't proclaim monotheism. The dog didn't intellectually rebel against the king.
It's an animal.
Right. The dog simply loved these righteous youths and followed them into the dark. And because of that physical proximity and absolute loyalty, the dog was absorbed into the miracle.
It experienced an osmosis of grace.
Beautifully put. Spiritual benefit extends to companions. The blessings, the divine protection, and the historical elevation enjoyed by the righteous spillover, saturating those who merely accompany them.
That's incredible.
The dog is immortalized in sacred text simply because of who it decided to hang out with.
That is a massive gut check for our own social circles.
It really makes you reflect.
We've all heard the modern adage that you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Sure, the self-help mantra.
Exactly. But usually we apply that to business or fitness or networking. If you hang out with ambitious people, you become ambitious. But this text applies the rule to our internal souls.
It serves as a permanent admonition for the listener. Who are you attaching yourself to?
Such an important question.
If a literal animal can be elevated to the level of historical and spiritual immortality simply by keeping good company, imagine what being deeply integrated into a circle of principled, righteous, intellectually courageous human beings does for your own soul.
It lifts you up automatically.
And conversely, if you surround yourself with the cynical, the materialistic, the spiritually dead, you will absorb their decay just as surely as the dog absorbed the miracle.
The company you keep is either your sanctuary or your shipwreck.
Exactly.
Okay, so this impossibly long, meticulously protected sleep eventually comes to an end.
Verses 19 and 20.
They wake up. And the psychological realism of this moment is just incredible to me. They are groggy, they are disoriented, and crucially, they still believe they are public enemies.
Right. To their minds, the king they fled from was ruling just yesterday.
Their reaction to waking up is a profound study in how to balance deep faith with gritty, tactical reality.
The immediate reaction highlights their epistemological humility.
What does that look like in practice?
They look at each other, confused by the passage of time. One asks how long they've been asleep. Another guesses a day or part of a day.
Which is a very reasonable guess.
Totally reasonable. But when they realize they simply cannot compute the reality of their situation, they don't get bogged down. They swiftly defer the unknown to Allah, stating, "Your Lord is most knowing of how long you remained."
I love this detail because human nature loves a useless debate.
Oh, we thrive on it.
They didn't sit in the cave, starving, and form an investigative committee to analyze the angle of the sun to determine the exact duration of their nap.
No, they didn't waste the energy.
They acknowledged the limit of their knowledge, dropped the subject, and focused on the immediate pragmatic problem, survival.
Which demonstrates the perfect balance of tawakkul, reliance on God, and practical prudence.
Faith and action.
Yes. They had just experienced something deeply strange. They survived miraculously, but experiencing a miracle didn't make them reckless or fatalistic.
They didn't just sit there waiting to be fed.
Right. They didn't say, "God saved us from the king, so God will miraculously drop a roasted chicken into our laps."
Which some people actually think faith looks like.
Exactly, but it doesn't. They took action. They appointed an emissary to take their silver coins into the city to buy food. And the specific instruction they gave him is encapsulated in one brilliant word: waliyat ataf.
Waliyatalataf.
Let him be cautious. Let him act with extreme subtlety and stealth.
But then they add a condition to this food run that I really want to interrogate.
Go for it.
Because they don't just say, get anything you can. They instruct this stealthy scout to identify who has the purest food, askataman, and bring that back.
Yes, askataman.
Let's look at the harsh reality of their situation. You have just woken up from a multi-century coma. Your blood sugar's on the floor.
You're starving.
You are literally starving in a cave.
Yeah.
And you believe there is a state-sponsored hit out on your head. And your priority is being a food snob.
A food snob.
I mean, asking for the purest, most lawful artisanal bread. That sounds completely reckless. Shouldn't basic caloric intake be the absolute only priority? Why risk longer exposure in the city just to find the purest food.
It sounds like a luxury they can't afford, right?
Exactly.
Until you remember the core of their entire worldview. It traces back to why they went to the cave in the first place. For a true believer, physical consumption is inextricably tied to spiritual purity.
Oh, interesting.
They understood a profound biological and spiritual reality. The food you consume literally becomes the cells of your body and the energy of your heart.
You are what you eat, but on a spiritual level.
Precisely. You cannot nourish a vessel that has just been preserved by divine miracle with impure, unlawful, or spiritually compromised fuel.
So extreme distress does not authorize ethical shortcuts.
Never. In fact, moments of extreme distress are precisely when your core principles are truly tested. Anyone can eat pure, lawful food when they are comfortable.
When it's easy.
Right. Demanding it when you are starving and hunted is the absolute proof of your conviction. A believer does not compromise on the halal nature of their sustenance, because compromised input compromises the soul.
And pairing that ethical demand with Al-Kahf, the self, is just brilliant.
It is the perfect formula.
It shows that having absolute reliance on the divine does not mean you abandon street smarts.
Tactical planning does not contradict faith. Planning your route, hiding your identity, avoiding unnecessary attention, this is the necessary balance.
It's doing your part.
As the old proverb goes, you tie your camel and then you trust in Allah. You seek the absolute purest sustenance, but you don't stroll blindly into the town square waving your wanted poster to get it.
Well, despite the emissary's best efforts at stealth, the secret does get out.
Yes, moving to verses 21 and 22.
The coins he tries to use to buy this cure food are hundreds of years old. The baker looks at this ancient currency, and immediately the cover's blown.
It was unavoidable.
And the societal impact of this discovery causes a massive shift in the narrative. We zoom out from the survival of a few youths to a societal, theological shockwave.
The whole city is involved now.
And it also exposes a trap that human beings fall into over and over again.
The discovery of the youths provided something the society desperately needed: undeniable empirical proof.
Proof of what?
Well, the historical context implies that the city, which had changed drastically over the centuries, was now grappling with intense theological debates, specifically regarding the concept of bodily resurrection.
Like, could the dead truly be raised?
Exactly. And the awakening of the youths was the definitive answer. It proved that the creator who can suspend the laws of time, halt cellular biology, and prevent physical decay for over 300 years can easily reassemble and recreate disintegrated bodies on the day of judgment, the hour.
It was a lived, breathing proof walking through their marketplace.
A walking miracle that answers their deepest existential anxiety.
But instead of sitting with the sheer weight of that revelation, what do the people do?
They start arguing.
The text notes that almost immediately, factions break out and start arguing about the trivia of the event. Specifically, they start fiercely debating the exact number of the youths.
Such a human response.
Were there 3 and their dog was the 4th? Were there 5 and the dog was the 6th? 7.
The text dismisses these subsequent debates entirely. It labels this kind of speculation as Rajman bil Yaib.
Rajman bil Yaib, what does that literally mean?
It literally means throwing stones in the dark or guessing at the unseen.
Throwing stones in the dark.
It issues a strict directive to avoid this pointless disputation, calling it Miran Zahira, a superficial argument. The instruction is clear. Do not waste an ounce of intellectual energy on historical minutiae that divine wisdom deliberately chose to obscure.
It is the most frustratingly human reaction ever.
It really is.
It reminds me of witnessing a man walk out of a blazing, collapsing skyscraper completely unscathed. A total defiance of physics.
Okay, yeah.
And instead of the bystanders dropping to their knees in awe at the miracle of his survival, they formed 2 angry groups arguing over whether he was wearing Nike or Adidas shoes.
That is the perfect analogy.
We are obsessed with missing the forest for the trees.
We really are. But we have to ask why we do this. Why do human beings gravitate toward these trivial debates, this Rajman bil Yaib?
Is it just human stupidity?
No, it's not just stupidity. It's a psychological defense mechanism.
A defense mechanism.
Yes. Engaging in pedantic arguments over details like numbers, names, or locations is a way to feel in control of a narrative without actually having to engage with its heavy, life-altering substance.
Trivia as a coping mechanism.
Precisely. If I can draw you into a heated intellectual debate about whether there were 5 or 7 youths in the cave, I am safely distracted.
You don't have to look at the big picture.
Exactly. I don't have to confront The terrifying, paradigm-shattering reality that the day of judgment is real, that bodily resurrection is a fact, and that I need to drastically change how I live my life today.
Arguing about numbers is safe. Confronting the divine is terrifying.
Wow, yeah, it's intellectual escapism disguised as rigorous theology.
That is so profound. And by deliberately keeping the number ambiguous, the text is forcefully closing off that escape route.
It shuts it down.
It refuses to let the story get boxed into a hyper-specific historical footnote for academics to dissect.
It forces the universality of the lesson, the archetype, the relentless struggle for faith against tyranny, the radical reliance on the divine, the ultimate victory of truth over time is the point.
The core of it.
That archetype is applicable to any era. It is applicable to you, the listener, right now, confronting the tyrannies and illusions of your own life. The moment you fixate on the trivial details of the story, you shatter the mirror the text is holding up to your own soul.
Which leads us directly into the concluding lessons of this narrative, verses 23 through 26.
The final takeaways.
The text completely dismantles this illusion of human control and reorients our fundamental relationship with time, the future, and knowledge itself. It introduces the absolute imperative of saying inshallah.
If Allah wills.
Yes, whenever we speak of our future plans.
This is perhaps one of the most misunderstood concepts in modern usage.
How so?
Well, often, inshallah is used colloquially as a polite brush-off or an excuse for flakiness.
Oh, for sure. Like, I'll be there at 5 p.m., inshallah, often just means I might show up.
Exactly. Don't count on it. But in the context of this blueprint, it is about absolute cosmological submission.
Cosmological submission.
Yes. It is the recognition that human intentions, no matter how pure, and human plans, no matter how meticulous, are entirely contingent upon divine decree.
I think about how we operate today. We have calendar apps, project management software, 5-year career plans, retirement portfolios.
We map out everything.
We use these tools to trick ourselves into feeling secure. We architect our tomorrows, and we actually start believing we own the future.
We suffer from a profound illusion of sovereignty. We think because we scheduled a meeting for next Tuesday actually belongs to us.
Right.
The command to say inshallah shatters that arrogance. It forces you to verbally acknowledge every single time you speak of the future that your existence in the next second is not guaranteed.
Let alone next Tuesday.
Exactly. The text provides a powerful spiritual correction. And remember your Lord when you forget.
When you forget that you are in charge.
Yes. When you slip back into the illusion of control, when you start acting like the master of your own destiny, you must jolt yourself awake. You can plan your tomorrow. In fact, you should plan your tomorrow, but you do not own it.
The universe does not answer to your Google Calendar.
That's a great way to put it. It really doesn't.
And just as it humbles us regarding the future, it does something extraordinary regarding the past.
Ah, the math.
After sternly telling us not to argue about the trivial number of the youths, it suddenly drops a detail of breathtaking, flawless mathematical accuracy regarding the duration of their sleep.
It states they stayed in their care for 300 years and add 9.
The precision here is just a spectacular scientific and historical flex.
It really is.
The phrasing, 300 years and add 9 perfectly, accounts for the astronomical difference between solar and lunar calendar systems over that specific duration.
Let's break that down for the listener.
Sure. 300 solar years, which are based on the Earth's orbit around the sun, equates exactly to 309 lunar years, which are based on the moon's cycles.
It's incredible because the solar calendar was typically used by empires for taxation and agriculture, while the lunar was used for spiritual and religious tracking.
So it speaks to both.
The text bridges both realities flawlessly, proving the multi-layered, omniscient accuracy of the revelation.
But here is what I don't fully grasp.
What's that?
If the text can be that mathematically exact, proving it knows the granular mechanics of the cosmos, why does the very next verse tell us to basically throw our hands up?
You mean the directive to defer?
Yeah. The ultimate directive given to the believer is to defer to Allah's absolute knowledge of the unseen aspects of the heavens and earth. Why give us the precise math if the ultimate lesson is just to defer?
It's a brilliant, intentional paradox designed to create the perfect human posture.
The perfect posture.
Yes. The mathematical precision of the 300 versus 309 years is provided to establish absolute trust. It proves the flawless divine origin of the text.
Okay.
It demonstrates that the author giving you this spiritual blueprint is the exact same author who engineered the orbital mechanics of the solar system. You can trust the manual because the manufacturer wrote it.
Okay, that establishes authority. Makes total sense.
Exactly. But the subsequent command to defer, to say, Allah knows best, is there to instill deep epistemological humility.
Reminding us of our limits.
It reminds us that while human mathematics, science, historical records, and logic are incredibly useful and have their rightful place, they are fundamentally limited. Our knowledge is a cup of water. Divine knowledge is the boundless ocean.
We can measure the 309 years, but we couldn't actually comprehend the reality of the sleep itself.
Precisely. Human agency and human intellect are celebrated, but they are never divorced from divine sovereignty.
They work together.
The inshallah paradigm is not a mandate for laziness or anti-intellectualism. It is the ultimate synthesis. You plan, you calculate, you study the solar and lunar cycles, you act with prudence, you seek the pure food.
You do the work.
But at the end of the day, your heart remains tethered to the reality that Allah alone possesses the complete unseen knowledge of all cosmic variables. Your plans are subject to His override.
This has been an absolutely phenomenal journey. When we pull all the threads together, it becomes so clear why the story of Al-Kahf is the ultimate spiritual blueprint.
It covers every base.
It meticulously prepares the human cognitive and spiritual architecture to withstand modern earthly trials.
When you synthesize what we've discussed, the rejection of societal materialism, the refusal to engage in intellectual arrogance and trivial debates, the courage to physically or socially retreat from toxic environments,
The absolute muscular reliance on God.
and the neutralizing power of true Kahf, you are looking at a master key. This is the exact armor required for the ultimate test.
The Dajjal.
Yes, the text is specifically preparing the believer to identify and survive the terrifying eschatological deception of the Dajjal.
Because the Dajjal isn't just a monster hiding in a closet.
No, it's a system.
It represents the absolute peak of worldly illusion. A systemic matrix that offers false miracles, demands spiritual compromise in exchange for material comfort, and rules through the fear of poverty and death.
And the youths in the cave defeated that exact same system in their own time.
They really did.
The king offered the same false dichotomy: bow to the illusion or lose everything.
And they chose the cave.
They defeated it by trusting the unseen over the seen, by valuing spiritual survival over physical comfort, and by recognizing that the tyrant's power was entirely hollow.
We've seen how they weaponized the boundless energy of their youth for truth, rather than conforming to the crowd.
Yeah.
We've seen how their physical senses were paused to protect them when their human agency ran out.
The balance of effort and decree.
And we've seen how even the stray dog that followed them was elevated to historical immortality simply by the virtue of their company.
The power of proximity.
So the question you have to walk away with today, the question this text forces you to answer in your own life, is this. When the culture around you, your workplace or your society, demands that you bow to its modern idols of status, wealth, and compromise, do you have the courage to stand up and embrace the cave? Or are you hoping you can just quietly blend in to survive?
That is the ultimate question.
Jazakallah khair. May Allah reward you with goodness for spending your valuable time listening to us.